Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am your host, Saucy McBoodlefist, and today we are playing The Letter. In the last one, we started Luke's story. It started out with Hannah, Luke's wife, trying to seduce him into having sex, and we respectfully declined because we were busy with work. And then we went through the story about how Zach, I think they refer to him as Steele for some reason. I rewatched the last episode, so anyway, the Zach, he broke into Luke's mansion because he thought he heard the voice of Lady Charlotte Ermengarde, and he wanted to break in to find out what was going on, and he was arrested and taken to jail. So other than that, we don't really know what's going on, so let's get started. Stepping out from the chaos, I let in a breath of fresh air, or as fresh as it's going to get in this city. I do hate going to the precinct. It's a fucking zoo filled with animals, people who step in included. But it's not like the city is any better. Humans are just higher form of animals after all. We all delude ourselves into thinking otherwise. And I call up the car to take me away from it all. Though I can't bring myself to step inside the house when I get home. Hana still rests, I assume. I hear nothing to say otherwise. Not her voice or her laughter, which will fill any space with cheer. Everything is quiet, and then the hum of engines from the car being brought away. A bird's cry sounds off from the gardens, snapping me out of the reverie and makes me look in that direction. It's an easy decision to go there. If Hana is resting, recovering from sickness, I don't want to disturb her with how agitated and annoyed I am underneath the surface, no matter how well hidden I can keep it. Not to mention, I've been neglecting the garden for too long. Might as well stay put out here for the time being. Gray skies loom over the horizon, though the sun fights for every precious minute it gets to stay. It'll rain again soon, with the wind bringing along the gloomy clouds normal to Luxborn. Until then, it doesn't hurt to be out here for fresh air and sunshine. I walk to the gardens, what little of it there is at the moment anyway, and kneel by the daffodils. These were the first to be brought here and planted on my request, and if nothing else, they brought in a sense of peace. They are Mother's favorites. Closing my eyes, I lift my chin up to welcome the light that shines upon me. And for a minute, I can imagine myself as one of the flowers, peaceful, blooming, and all too happy to stand in its warmth. Life would be much easier if we were all like flowers, wouldn't it? Oh, Luke has a softer side. But I didn't step out here to get all philosophical. I have problems much more practical than figuring out the meaning of life after all. Too many things have gone on these past few days. And I want to forget about them, even for just a moment.
It's almost All Saints, isn't it? To think I've almost forgotten.
I speak the words absent-mindedly. The date means nothing to me, as I neither worship the religion nor have any graves to visit. After all, Mother was never given a proper burial. But it's a date, as good as any, for me to grieve. Otherwise, I would have done so every single day, crippling myself and shutting everyone else out. I can remember how the flames licked at her flesh and how it consumed her body until there was nothing left but ash. I stood there watching with the operator and social service worker, though I could have been alone for all I cared. I felt alone. It was the most that could be done. No one would attend the funeral of a dead prostitute, let alone pay for it. And all that is left of her, proof that she had lived, is her name written in the ledger of Luxborn Cemetery, a lighter and me. Pulling the lighter out of my jacket, I can't stop myself from flicking it open to stare at the flame and run my thumb over her name. Her name was Eleanor. All in all, it isn't much, but it's something. And it'll be wrong of me not to make something of myself when she would have given everything to make sure I can become anything I want to be.
Feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare right now. What I would give to have you here by my side, Mother dear. To see you smiling at me. Alive and as beautiful as ever. I'm afraid I'm starting to forget what your face looks like. I've already forgotten the shade of your hair.
Eleanor Chandler was a wonderful woman, though not everyone would have agreed. Not everyone has seen past her occupation, past her vices and her illness. All they saw was a poor woman who sold her body to make ends meet and had a bastard son because of it. They didn't see the mother who worked hard to put food on the table for me, the woman who gave and gave and gave to me while expecting nothing in return. She taught me the merits of hard work, but though I loved her so, I worked hard for myself. I would not be so foolish, so selfless towards people who would never give it back. I learned that from the father who plucked me out of an orphanage from his own selfish gain. I pocket the lighter before I feel the urge to actually set anything ablaze. Considering my close proximity to the flowers, they would be most likely the victim of arson. Just the thought itself is blasphemous. Nevertheless, that doesn't save them from being picked, just enough to make a bouquet of things in honor of Eleanor.
Would you be proud of me if you saw me now, Mother? Maybe. You're always so forgiving. No matter what trouble I got into, more than I deserved. Especially now.
It's been a while since I've talked to my mother like this. They say even when our loved ones have passed on, they stay to watch over us. Though I believe in neither a heaven or a hell, a hopeful part of me wishes it were true, as ridiculous as the idea is. I can't help but grow still, a chill growing up my spine, when I do feel eyes upon me. For a while, I think I'm imagining it, but I'm all too familiar with the sensation of being watched. Carefully, I scan my surroundings, doing my best to not give away the fact that I'm aware of their presence, whoever they are. But there's not a soul in sight on the field surrounding the mansion. Yet there, on the balcony overlooking the garden, she stands there, though I cannot see her face clearly from afar. I know she is the one staring at me. A servant, if I were one to judge by her clothing from the distance, I can't discern who those stains on her clothing, what those stains on her clothing are. The woman gives off a rabid air and simply did not belong with her surroundings. That isn't what worries me, though. What worries me is that she isn't one of ours. She can't be. Obvious signs of being tattered and dirty state aside, there shouldn't be anyone else in the mansion aside from the three of us. And that's the balcony that leads to our bedroom. Forget pretending that I didn't notice her.
You! What are you doing there? You're not supposed to be there!
It's a stupid thing to do, I realize in hindsight, but calling attention to a spur-of-the-moment plan. From the height, there's no way she would be able to have jumped off the balcony, and perhaps she would have only been able to sneak in there because Hannah is asleep. Calling out to her would wake Hannah and, at the very least, call Johan's attention to the matter at hand. I dread to think of any other way she could have gotten there without Hannah calling for us. The woman on the balcony doesn't react, barely even stirs. Probably drug-addled or touched in the head, though that begs the question of how she managed to get in there. That changes nothing, of course. It doesn't stop me from running back into the mansion.
Shuriken! There's an intruder in the bedroom! Upstairs! Secure Hana immediately!
Bursting in through the front door as I'm greeted by Johannes with a kitchen knife in his hand, looking wary and alert. There's a question on his lips for a moment, but he's quick to fall into place, giving me a curt nod before we rush into the foyer upstairs. That woman would need to go through us to get anywhere, and between me and the butler, there's no way she's getting away. There's no announcing ourselves as I slam the bedroom door open, expecting to see the worst inside. When we find Hana simply seated at her vanity, without a care in the world, my relief can't be any greater. I don't even question if she's well enough to be moving around yet. But that is soon followed by a suspicion and caution. Without a word, I signal for Johannes to search through the room for the intruder, even going so far as to slipping into the second bedroom. She couldn't have gone anywhere else, not without getting our attention, not without Hana noticing. It isn't too far-fetched to think that she may have been coerced to act like nothing is out of the ordinary. If she is being forced to do this, she would be able to tell me without alerting the criminal. We would be ready for such things, after all, being the wealthy, wonderful, and influential people that we are. And though I hesitate to break her peace, to make her worry about anything more than she has the right to be, I know that matters of safety shouldn't be taken so lightly. Even if I could just content myself in just watching her.
Are you alright, Hana?
There's a moment of silence as she fastens a cord around her neck, and with her back still turned to us, she replies as calmly as can be.
Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Is there something wrong?
There's no sign of coercion or deceit. She gives none. Everything looks fine, seems fine. Hana says as much. Stepping out onto the balcony doesn't say anything differently. The outside is devoid of signs of any other human life, and how secluded the property is, Though it is hard to be sure, with how the sun has set, trying to locate anyone on the large property by myself would be futile. Whether it is the truth or a convenient lie, one could only assume that everything is all right. And even Johannes is in agreement.
There's nobody in the second bedroom or in the closet. It's all clear.
Yet I can't fight off the awful feeling that has taken over me.
Are you sure? Nobody? Double check. Triple check everything. Check the whole house if you have to.
What's going on? What is all this then?
He claims to have seen an intruder standing on your balcony. Did you notice anyone here, madam?
No, it's just been me. I've not heard or seen anybody else aside from the two of you all day. Strange.
The others have been given the day off. There shouldn't be anybody else here. Are you sure of what you saw? Perhaps you were...
Yes, I bloody well am sure of what I saw. There was a woman standing there, dark hair and in servant's clothing. Are you insinuating that I am making things up? That I'm going mad? Because if you are, I don't care how competent you've been. I won't have such disrespect directed at me. It's not paranoia if people are out to get me.
My anger is easily roused, no thanks to the adrenaline rush that's kicked in sometime, I don't even know when. I don't think I'll ever get used to this feeling, really. No matter how many a time I've had to rely on it to survive on the streets as a child, to survive everything with how high I've managed to prop myself up. And I take any and all threats towards my person seriously.
I'm not implying that you're mad. The occasional hallucination is a completely normal and human experience, as long as it isn't a repeat occurrence.
Oh, so what? That was a trick of the light? My imagination?
You haven't ingested any alcohol today, have you?
A valid question, but
I am not drunk.
in my state, I only realize how quiet Hana has gotten when she doesn't joke about my debatable alcoholism. There's no clever quip or words of fond exasperation. She's only watching me through all this. And when I do notice that, I start feeling bugs crawling on my skin. When I didn't design to speak further, fixated on the sensation, Johans cuts in.
Whatever the case, we need to establish tighter security. We should have done so from the start. If you were seeing things, then we got lucky. Had there been a real intruder, we were ill prepared.
Of course. I trust that you can hire the most qualified from the agency.
Are you all right, Hana? You seem disquieted.
I'm well, my love. I was just worried about how the hallucination brought you distress.
It wasn't a hallucination, I'm sure of it. What can I do to prove otherwise?
It doesn't matter. You are safe, as am I. I overreacted.
Perhaps rest is necessary. It is late into the day, and you must be tired from your gardening.
Before I ask how she knew what I was doing, a small, fond smile graces her lips before she brushes away a few yellow petals from my sleeve. But does it really look like I'm that exhausted? I'm sure to be well rested, despite it all, and it's not like I've done anything physically exhausting today. Beyond running here in a hurry, anyway. No doubt I've let a trail of flowers in my mad dash. And I suppose I do look like a mess.
Rest sounds good. I guess I'll need to sleep a lot more than I thought. But
I'll stand guard outside for the night. You two have nothing to worry about. Nothing to worry about? I'm not so sure of that. But thinking any more about it isn't going to do anything.
Come on then, my love. Off to bed. I have been restless without you by my side.
Even then, I can't force away the uneasiness that settles over me. Sleep is hard to attain, and even Hana's embrace does not help. She's still burning up. October 31st, Monday. Really, little sleep was had, and I was completely drained come morning. Even when Hana rises from bed, in spite of a mild fever, and invites me down to breakfast, I can't be bothered to drag myself from the comfort of the sheets. It's not like I need to do something particularly important today. The rain that has started sometime during the night doesn't help the mood. Okay, maybe it helps just a little. The strange sunny weather has been nice and all, but for it to return as it should be feels like a good sign of things to come. Perhaps things will settle back to normal and the crazy drama that has gone on lately will die down. The rhythmic pitter-patter of the rain fills the early morning silence with a steady beat. Thank goodness I don't have to be anywhere in a hurry today. I would hate to be caught unawares in this rain. With how it looks outside, it seems that the weather is making up for all the sunny days it has given us with the good old-fashioned downpour. It does let up within a quarter of an hour. However, a day beginning with a cloudburst like this, locals usually take it as an immediate sign. Luxborn abysmal weather is back, likely for good. I hope they did a damn good job of fixing this place before. I'd rather not have to deal with the leaky roofs. Though Hana might find humor in it, and perhaps ask me to sing in the rain to wear out my anger, I don't like the idea of the realty did a horrid patch job with the place. We, well Hana technically, paid millions for this place. It better live up to the price and the realty company sold it for. Not that it's something she should be fretting about at the moment when her health's not the best. Hana is going to be brought to the hospital for a checkup today, and if anything, I prefer that she focus on getting better. That fever, no matter how slight it is, can't be good for her, what with her odd behavior recently. You'd think she hit her head against something while I wasn't looking. Perhaps a proper rest is all she needs, but I'd rather not assume things. I'm a businessman, not a doctor. Wonder of wonders why I even bother agreeing to babysitting duty at that. But here I am, scheduled as today's babysitter for the Suarez brat once her father drops her off at the mansion steps. Though that is a worry for much, much later. If I wish to, I can ask that nobody bother me while I doze off in a cocoon of comforters. But as always, somebody has to be a buzzkill.
Are you really going to stay in bed all day?
What do you want? It's far too early to deal with your nosiness.
You must have been really rattled by what happened yesterday. If you need to talk about it, I am quite qualified in that regard.
And you aren't even the slightest bit bothered. Truly, not even the slightest bit worried?
I was worried. But I realized that it's not my life in danger, is it? My worrying will not help matters. Neither will yours.
Loath as I am to admit it, he is right. The whole thing might have rattled me, but there is a little point in jumping at every shadow I see from the corner of my eye. I shouldn't lose my head for a threat that might not even come. I should know better by now. But I've never been this worried about a possible threat on my life before. I'll be honest here. If anyone is in danger, it's Hana. I can take care of myself just fine. With security tightened, I'll at least have one guard, if not 5, making sure nobody gets within 10 feet from me without my say-so. Hana, on the other hand, will be away for most of the day to get that fever checked, upon my insistence. It is a small relief that Johans will be with her.
Are there any updates about the woman?
Being in the dark has me on edge. Information, any at all, may very well help me in calming down.
I've already briefed security about her, and more from the agency will be arriving tonight. But they haven't seen anyone fitting the description.
So you have nothing then? Fat lot of use you guys are. What do I even pay you for? Do me a favor. There's the door. Don't let it hit you on your way out.
Well, there is something. It's about McCulloch.
Though I'll deny it, I do find myself a tiny bit interested.
I called her secretary about taking the day off. He hasn't heard from her over the weekend.
Ever consider she might be putting her paycheck to good use? Probably somewhere out there getting drunk, having a shag. Ugh, and I envy her for it. As long as she's here for work, what and who she does in her free time is her business.
Hell, maybe she's found another client to sleep with. I'll commend her if that is the case. It's a good way as any to make connections and get business. I'd be a hypocrite and a liar if I said I didn't get some of my business that way. Scratches the itch, too.
That's all well and good, but she's not answering her mobile either. Mr. Parker will be filling a missing persons case with the police if she doesn't turn up today.
Okay, interesting as all this is, why bring this to my attention? If we've lost an interior designer, just find someone else to take her place.
If I knew that letting Hana hire her would bring so much trouble, I would have stopped it at just the sex.
The last anyone has seen of her was here, the morning of the party. Your housewarming party.
That isn't good news.
It wouldn't do for the police to hear of this, and to suspect.
It's a little important that I can easily prove my innocence. It is all a matter of principle. Because even the accusation of misdemeanor should not stain my reputation, although maybe it is a bit too late to hope for a squeaky clean one. Besides, it'll be such a hassle to have police poking around the house looking for a body that doesn't exist.
Now, if we're done here, I'd like to go back to sleep and...
Where are you?
Well, there goes any plans of grabbing some shut-eye. Rolling over on my stomach, I can only scream into my pillow.
Of course, of course. Ugh!
Did you stub your toe again? Because then you should always use your indoor voice when you're on visitors.
Johans, distract her.
Oh, look, it's time for me to go. Have fun with your little play date. So long, farewell, and auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
No, Johans, don't you turn away from me. Keep her busy for an hour. Come on!
I have to press my face against the pillow once more to suppress a groan. You just can't get loyal help anymore.
Hello there, little Fraulein. Your uncle is just upstairs and will be down in a moment. He is super excited to have you today. I hope you're well rested and ready to play a lot.
That bastard. I'll be down in a sec, Munchkin. Let me just...
Change into a fresh shirt, brush my teeth, fix my hair, bemoan my very existence. Wish I was anywhere else in the world right now. Don't get me wrong, Kylie is a great kid. Wonderful. Better than most brats her age. But handling a tyke is the last thing I want on my agenda right now with this whole Hana business. Fortunately, I am well versed in how the world works. I've long learned that the show must go on, no matter what hurdles come in my way. So I set to preparing for the day. Running a comb through my hair is just divine and simply makes me feel more human. Bed hair is disgusting though. It isn't as bad as now as when I was a child. With how expensive a trip to the barber was, I often had to grow it out until Mother had the time to cut it for me. The curls and tangles were simply horrid. Why I was even mistaken as a little girl because of that. It certainly doesn't help when I was named Lucille. A freshly pressed shirt is enough to chase away the last signs of sleepiness. The feel of a crisp and clean cloth in my hands is a clear marker to start the day. But something catches my eye. My clothes and personal effects are already set on the dresser for the day. Boxers, trousers, belt, and socks on one side with my shirt, jacket and tie on the other. It's always the same things, always. Cufflinks, colognes, and anything else I would like to add stays in the dresser for me to choose from. It's all routine. However, among the silvers and the grays, the red there is a tiny blue box.
Now, what is this?
Excuse me. The thing is small and tight, fitting in the palm of my hand, too big to be a ring box and too large to be a watch box. Looking at it closer, I see that it's one of my handkerchiefs used for wrapping. It's easy enough to untie the knot to reveal a plain box inside. And an odd and quaint way to wrap up a gift, I suppose. Though presentation should be the last thing I need to be worried about. Mail, packages, gifts, and the likes are supposed to be vetted before they get to me. In the morning, Johans would hand me a list of things I need to look over and go through. Yet, there was no forewarning about this. Immediately, I dropped the thing as if it burned me.
I shouldn't have touched that. I shouldn't have touched that.
It very well might have. Without security going over it, it could be a nasty gift for me. I can still remember when a security guard dived to contact poison that covered an innocent enough birthday card, for fuck's sake. But as the box hits the ground, it spills its contents. What I see makes my stomach turn. An eyeball, still with its nerve ending, mucus ball and all, plops on the ground. I have to fight the urge to gag as it rolls and stares up at me.
Oh god, that's sick. That is sick. It's still wet. My bloody fucking... That is disgusting.
I'm not a stranger to being sent threats, but this has to be the first time I've been sent a body part. Even I don't do that. Yet there's no note or sign, too, as to who may have sent this or how it got here. If this is a threat, it's a piss poor way of doing it, considering it lacks proper planning outside the shock factor that sending a body part affords them. Do I even know anyone whose eyes are the same shade? Not Hana's, no, definitely not. They aren't as pretty and aren't the right color. Johann's, Mr. and Mrs. Lee, Suarez, McCullough, no, the color isn't familiar at all. Though honestly, it's not like I take the time to memorize each and every person's eye. This could be anyone's, from a guard or a maid, or one of the other hundred of people I deal with. Kylie can't see this. The kid is tough, but this'll traumatize her. Grabbing the handkerchief that was used for wrapping, I try to pick up the eyeball to dispose of it. Emphasis on try. Contact, even with the fabric, has me gagging. The thought of squishing it and covering my fingers with the slick and slime of it makes me recoil. With the slightest of touch, it's enough to make the eyeball roll towards the bed. And in my mad scramble to make a grab for it, it rolls away even farther, farther under the bed until it's smack dab in the middle. There, it just taunts me. From where it sits out of my reach, green iris is fixed on me again, perhaps judging my poor attempt to get it.
What the hell with this? I don't have time for this.
I wash my hands of this, quite literally at that, though I wish it was easier said than done. The nagging in the back of my head, the voice that tells me to be more cautious about this, refuses to push the matter aside. While it is true that it is cause for concern, without demands of anything of the like, worrying will do very little to help. Looking around the room, I try to see if any other presents have been left behind. To my relief, aside from the loot box, nothing else is out of place. The most I can do right now is to alert the present security about the breach, watch for any other threats. If they have a message for me, they'll most likely send it with their next gift. Whoever has sent this eye, I would assume that it is more to shake me up than anything else at the moment. It'll be best to act as if it didn't happen. No need to make a child worry about it either. She doesn't need to know. Soothing down my suit and my hair with a sigh, I steel myself for the horrors. The horrors that come with taking care of a child. While I try to forget the horrors that came in a box.
Good morning to you, Luke.
Speak of the devil, and she shall appear. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Kylie grins up at me as soon as I open the bedroom door. She swings the backpack she's clutching, hitting my leg in a show of impatience and looking entirely unapologetic for it.
Did you just wake up? Don't tell me you forgot. It's our playdate today.
I doubt I'd forget. Kylie's visits are frequent enough thing that they found a way into my schedule. They're supposed to be visits to her godmother. But we can't pick who a child gets along with. So as long as I'm not busy, her father can drop her off for the day. Which is all well and good for me, if it makes Suarez focus on work I've given him. Besides, she's a bright child, tolerable, kid's got a good head on her shoulders, and she can be pretty mature for her age at times. Of course, they thank me for that. Her parents can take partial credit, but Hana and I have been there for this kid since she was a small babe. Why I can still remember the first time I saw her, it was during her baptism. The only reason I was there to accompany Hana, who was to be named godmother. She was a tiny thing, not even a year old, and swaddled in her mother's arm in white cloth. It was the first time I really saw an infant up close enough to hold one, at least. It had been terrifying, be given a little child to carry after the whole water ceremony. I've never done that before, to hold a tiny infant in my arms. I could have just dropped her on her head and this little tyke before me would have stopped existing then and there. But the child just smiled at me, babbling nonsensical words as children do, and clinging to me as I tried to hand her off to Hana. She had thought it hilarious and adorable. My suit had been a mess and I was nearly as an anxious wreck by the time I handed her back to her mother. Yet it was pleasant too.
Of course I didn't, you little rugrat. I just had to take care of something before you arrived.
Really? Well, I guess that's fine. As long as he told me for work like last time.
Really? Now why don't we go back down and have breakfast in the parlor?
I already ate at home. Papa made one of his tortillas de patatas. He wouldn't let me leave until I finished every bite.
The Suarez infamous tortilla de patatas. Those things are a hazard. You can probably use one to bludgeon someone into submission with how huge they are. It's a miracle Kylie can still be so energetic. I had trouble staying awake for the first time I had one. Speaking of staying awake...
Well, I need some coffee in me at the very least. But if you'd like, you can jump straight to dessert.
Yes! Dessert, please!
It's easy enough to manage Kylie with the promise of sweets, thankfully. The hard part is managing her before she gets the sweets, because I nearly have a heart attack when the kid races down the stairs. Just the thought of her slipping and breaking her neck is enough to make me rush down after her.
Slow down, the food isn't going anywhere.
The food is going somewhere. In my tummy.
Jesus fucking Christ. Children.
With a shake of my head, I usher Kylie towards the parlor and order a maid to bring food for us. Whatever breakfast there is, along with a cup of coffee for me and an ice cream for Kylie. But I can't leave the kid alone for too long, unless I want to let her turn the other room into a slaughter ground. True to my expectations, I've only left Kylie alone for a few minutes, but she's already made herself comfortable. The stuff from her backpack has been scattered across the room, from the coloring books to crayons and toys. She's well equipped to amuse herself with no trouble, though I can certainly breathe a little easier if she won't bring her doll along every time she visits. Narcissa, or Sissa, is a creepy little bugger. It doesn't help when Kylie left her during one. Finding the thing in the bottom of the stairs, staring up at me at 3 o'clock in the morning, is a memory that won't be leaving me anytime soon. Even now, it stares at me from where it's seated. I'm wholly tempted to throw the thing in the fireplace and banish it from whence it came. I can buy her a prettier doll, a better toy. I will break it, find a way to get rid of it if it wasn't from Hana, and if only Kylie isn't so attached to it. The thing is some antique doll she found from her brat's 6th birthday, one of a kind. My darling Hana loves her so. And Kylie does try to be a good daughter, but she just can't keep her interest long with the wife. It's not something that Hana does wrong on her part. She does try very, very hard. It's just that she doesn't quite know how to really handle children. She'd never been around other children, and she was young, surrounded by protective adults who catered to her every whim and worried about her safety every minute. When she isn't able to keep up with Kylie, her first instinct is to be strict. Impose rules on the child, treat her as if she's made of spun glass, like every movement may break her. I, at least, have some idea from being around street kids. I know the games they've played and how they think. I know that scraps and skinned knees are all part of childhood. Even with how I grew up, I had time to be a child and not some sheltered heiress. With Kylie, As behaved as she can be, with her toys and her books and her arts, she has to use up all of her energy somehow. To run around the playground and make a mess in the mud, or even just fake wrestle for a short while. Let her be a child when she wants, I'll say. If it becomes too much, just bribe her with sweets or ship her back to her papa. Problem solved. Unfortunately, Hana isn't quite up for those sorts of things most of the time, thinking it'll spoil the child. It turns the whole playdate awkward every time. Taking the last seat left, I pluck one of her coloring books from the table to see it filled with dinosaurs. Not exactly what I expected for a little girl. It doesn't hurt anyone. If she wants to play with dolls and cars, or dolls with their cars, what do I care? She wants to put a doll's tutu on a model cars even.
Oh, this is a new one. The last one you had was filled with horses, wasn't it?
Those were ponies, Tio. They're much cuter than horses. But we went to a dinosaur zoo, and it was awesome! Dinosaurs are my favorite.
I have no idea what that is, but it must be something. I'm only familiar with the T-Rex myself.
Yeah, they found, fossils of its claws. They're really long. They think the whole theory might be a bazillion meters tall, even bigger than a T-Rex. Cisa says it'll be big enough to eat all my classmates.
She only laughs as I scrunch up my nose and grimace.
Takako says you're making a really funny face.
Taka who?
Takako, a friend I made.
I have to stop and look around, expecting one of the help to be there. The child does have a way of befriending just about anyone, as long as she puts her mind to it. Yet the two of us are completely alone. Thankfully, she finds my disturbed look as another funny grown-up expression. That might be more problematic than whether she plays with dolls or cars, though. Both the thoughts of Sissa giving Kylie ideas, and one of said ideas being a massacre by the dinosaur. Something I probably need to bring up with her father, aside from work. But beyond murderous dinosaurs, creepy dolls, and imaginary friends, I find no trouble with Kylie. She's as energetic and precious as any tyke her age can be. She's an angel if she can be comfy and settled in after getting sweets. We tuck into our waffles as soon as the food is brought in. Our waffles because she wanted her own plate to go with ice cream as soon as she saw mine. A fresh plate of berries is brought in as well, which really goes well with the rest of the feast Kylie has with the rest of the feast, as Kylie puts it. And if I indulge in the sweetness, I have a cup of black coffee to pair with it. With our bellies full, Kylie grows content with just scribbling on a scrap of paper and calmly chatting about her week. She talks of her older brother, Rowan, and their parents, how they plan to go to the Bloxland in Berkshire for the winter holidays. She talks of Miss Pink, and I have to shift my legs to become comfortable once more. The memory of my initial meeting with her is still fresh in my mind. She talks of the sad man in the park, and of her new friend who likes to play hide and seek when she's not stepping in the loo. When finally she finds nothing new to talk about, she goes back to her drawings. That'll change as soon as her stomach settles, of course, the calm before the storm. Because behaved as she is right now, I can feel the curiosity just radiating off of her. There's a restlessness buzzing under her skin, and a question on the tip of her tongue, as often are with children her age. But for now, I can take this piece with no complaint, for however long it stays. I have fun with the crayons as well, at the child's insistence, even if I can't really draw. with Kylie using the black crayon that leaves me with the blue one. I absentmindedly start to draw a puppy to the best of my abilities. It's as I attempt to give the Doodle's dog another eye that Kylie breaks her silence.
Teal? Where did Tia go? I saw them leave when I got here. Tia didn't look so good.
I've been expecting a lot of different questions. The kid always has a whole bunch of them ready for me, but I can only sigh when she posed this particular one.
She's just going to the doctor's for a checkup.
She's pregnant. And as kids go, there are follow-up questions.
And you didn't go with her?
Well, you were going to be here, sweetie, so I had to stay behind.
So she's all alone? At the hospital?
Oh, no, of course not. Tia has Johannes and her maid and a guard. She's got plenty of company.
Yeah, but you're not with her.
If I didn't know better, I'd say the kid is trying to make me feel guilty. I want to say that this little tyke is evil for making me feel so.
But I understand. When I get sick, Papa and Mama have to leave me with their maids, too.
Oh, they don't take care of you?
That doesn't sound right. Even my mom took care of me when I was a sick child.
Well, they're always busy with work.
Oh, I see. I guess that's no good.
I know she doesn't mean to accuse me of anything, but as her father's boss, maybe I do overwork Suarez a bit. There's a little bit of responsibility that only he is capable of carrying out. Delegation is the thing, sure, but when said responsibilities are legally questionable at best, putting others to the task isn't always an option. But
Maybe your papa is in need of some vacation time. He deserves it, doesn't he? He's a hard worker. I could arrange something for the holidays.
I could cut him some slack. Some of his assignments can wait. I can't do much for her mom. She isn't one of my employees, but this would have to suffice. It will be worth it if it makes the little girl happy, because just like that, the somber look on her face turns into one of pure joy. It's like looking at a little sun, warm and bright. It's nice to do something kind every now and then.
Would you really, Teal?
Would you like that?
I'd like that very much, yeah! We can go to this museum! There's one with lots of cool trains and planes! I like trains! And there's the local Manor theme park! And a monkey forest! There's a kid adventure farm too, the wacky warehouse, and a play barn as well, and...
Whoa, slow down there, Munchkin. I know you're excited, but I think you should let me schedule your dad's day off before you plan a whole year's worth of stuff.
There's an embarrassed giggle, but she does reel herself in enough to calm down, which is a feat in and of itself. It's obviously how giddy she is. And if she wasn't looking forward to the holidays before, like any child should, she does now.
I think Tia would be really happy if you were with her. You could have told me you needed to go to the hospital with her, Teal. I won't be angry.
I'd love to be with her, but I wanted to spend time with you, Munchkin. And she told me to stay. Besides, I don't like hospitals. They always smell like alcohol. Not the good kind either.
I don't think anybody likes hospitals. They're scary. But you said Tia is brave and strong.
That she is.
A content slice comes over us as we go back to scribbling. A content silence comes over us as we go back to scribbling. Though I stop when I'm done with my blue dog, cringing at how awful it looks. Kylie reprimands me for that because I should be like her. The little tyke goes through several sheets of paper, one drawing after another. Practicing, she says, because practice makes perfect. Not to mention that there's a drawing contest coming up in class, and she has to beat Tim from Class D, who says girls can't be superheroes. The clay gets a turn too, when we start sculpting food and pretending we're Michelin chefs. When we're too tired from tossing pizza and making cakes, there's no trouble in finding another activity more relaxing for both of us. I find myself invested in reading the picture of Dorian Gray once more. Often, I lose myself in the pages of that book. However, it is rather difficult to do so when I'm also trying to keep an eye on and an ear out for Kylie. I've been reading the same paragraph over and over again, even. Inexplicably, I can feel my skin crawl when the girl sits with Narcissa from the parlor's fireplace, humming, singing. Though I ignore it long enough to hear only the tail end of the story.
Everything is up in flames, up in flames, up in flames. Everything is up in flames, my fair lady.
Alright, we are going to end the episode off here. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, or don't. I don't give a shit, and I'll see you all in the next one. And, goodbye everyone.